Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. Chris Broussard is in for Nick this morning. Kevin Wilde's got Antoine Walker. Fun show for you. Had lots to get to coming up on a Friday. The odds of Colin Kaepernick playing in this season are now as high as they've ever been. Odell Beckham Jr. has gotten the green light from his head coach to go full tilt. We'll see what that means. And Vince Carter says now he's officially done. But we start the show with a little flashback Friday. Appropriate. On this day, 17 years ago, June 26, 2003, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected LeBron James with the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. The expectations surrounding him were sky high, and he's undoubtedly lived up to every single one of them. 3 championships, 16 All-Star selections, 4 MVP awards, and coming soon to a theater or a streaming service near you, Space Jam 2. Antoine, let's start with you. You went head-to-head with LeBron 16 times. If you think back, do you have a favorite moment of LeBron's career so far, in your opinion, that really stood out to you?
Well, it wasn't the 16 times that I played against him. I take mine back to 2018 NBA Finals when he had 51-8-8. That game gets overshadowed because of obviously what J.R. Smith did at the end of that game. But that was probably the best game I ever seen LeBron play. If you really look at how he scored, the three-point shooting, the in-between game, getting to the basket, the focus that he played with. And you got to remember, he was going against Kevin Durant and the other 3 All-Stars on Golden State. And LeBron was really out there by himself, and he made those guys unbelievable that night. But that's my favorite game. I love watching that game. That showed you, it put you in that category where LeBron, you saw the whole arsenal. He went to his package that day.
You know, Antoine, I love that game. My game is also a huge individual performance. It is the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5, when he scores 25 straight, scores 29 of 30. Takes the game into double overtime and wins it, sends the Pistons, well, it's game 6, they still play a little bit more, but basically the Pistons will lose that series. LeBron will go on to the finals. Here's why I think that game is so impressive and still underrated. Our resident LeBron expert has this even at his 9th best performance, which I think is insane. Here's how underrated it is when you look at the stats from that game. Chris, this is difficult to pull off if you're by yourself in the gym. It's difficult to pull off if you're on a Nerf hoop. It's difficult to pull off if you're shooting balled up pieces of paper in a garbage can. 25 points. He goes 9 for 11, 2 for 2, and 5 for 8 on free throws. And look, he didn't do this against just any old team. This was a Pistons team that was historically underrated. I know they only won 1 championship, but they went to 6 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals. They held LeBron to 10 points in Game 1 of that series. I think it's obviously an amazing performance, but somehow it is still underrated, Broussard.
It is underrated. I was at that game, and that was probably the greatest individual performance I've ever witnessed in person. It was unbelievable. You mentioned he scored their last 25 points. I think it was 29 of their last 30. And like you said, that was not only a great Detroit team, it was a great defensive team in Detroit. You had Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton. That was a tremendous Detroit team. As great as LeBron was, it's interesting because you wonder, would it have happened had Detroit not lost their defensive anchor in that offseason, which was Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace was not there. They had lost him to free agency in Chicago. And so he would have had something to say about LeBron scoring those 25 straight points. But that was a great defensive team for Detroit. But for me, guys, the moment that stands out for me is, I believe it was June 19th, 2016. That's Game 7 in Golden State. There were so many first or greatest elements to this game, as of course is when the Cavaliers came back from the 3-1 deficit to beat Golden State and win the championship. Number 1, it was the greatest championship of LeBron's career, I'd say, of the 3. It was the greatest comeback in NBA history. It was the most iconic block shot in NBA history when LeBron pinned, there it is right there, Andre Iguodala against the glass. And it was the first championship, major league championship, for Cleveland in 52 years. Oh, And to cap it off, LeBron had a triple-double with 27 points, 11 assists, and 11 rebounds in that game. Afterwards, remember, LeBron himself said it was that performance and that championship that made him think he was the GOAT. And on the court, his agent, Rich Paul, was jumping around, knowing I was about to go on television and telling me, he's the GOAT now, Chris. He's better than Jordan. Jordan couldn't have done that. He was trying to get into my psyche so I'd say that on the air, but I held back.
But Chris, don't forget,
I love that all three of you
made that shot now.
No, you're right.
That's true.
That might be the biggest shot in NBA history, Antoine.
Such an impressive career so far that all three of you have such different awesome moments from LeBron James. Some say this year, though, guys, might be his best shot or easiest shot, if you will, to win a title. Antoine, let me ask you, what would a title this season with the Lakers do for LeBron James' legacy?
I think it starts that conversation again, put them in the category with Michael on who's the GOAT in the league, because he gets it with 3 different teams. If he happens to win one with the Lakers this year, then you got to think about this year is going to be a little bit harder because the Western Conference is so tough. I think right now we're probably thinking it's going to be the Lakers versus Clippers to get to the finals. So to go through them is going to be very difficult. With possibly some tough first and second round matchups. And then obviously the finals, I like Milwaukee to get to the finals. And that could be a very tough series as well. Milwaukee is playing very good basketball this season. So this could, if he wins it this year, now you start that conversation again. You start putting him in that Michael Jordan conversation again.
See, I wonder, Antoine, if there's any Jordan, let's say we divide NBA fans into 2 camps. You've got a Jordan camp and you've got a LeBron camp. I don't know if anyone from the Jordan camp, if he wins this finals, moves over to LeBron camp. Maybe Broussard, and I know, like you talk about, Antoine, this road to the finals will be very difficult if you've got, I think Portland's going to sneak in. So if you've got to go through Dame and then Harden, Russ, and then Kawhi, and then Giannis, it is a gauntlet that they'd have to get through, and it would certainly be impressive. But Broussard, I just don't know if someone is going to look up in October or if it pushes into November and say, like, you know what? I was a Jordan guy, and now I'm a LeBron guy. I just decided. I don't know if that's going to happen. Do you?
Well, first of all, I'm starting to think Wilds is on Portland's payroll because you find a way that you believe in the play. I don't think Dame and CJ believe in themselves as much as you do, but
I know. I'm trying to pump them up.
I think you have a point, Kevin. I don't know that anybody will move from the Jordan camp. But Antoine is right. It does just add more fuel and ammunition to LeBron's argument. Look, he would join Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in reaching 10 NBA finals. Now, of course, he will have lost 6, but still, just to play in 10 NBA finals, and he led his team every single year. The only other player who led his team to more finals, if LeBron gets there for his 10th, would have been Bill Russell with 12. And so that is a huge, notch in LeBron's belt, if you will, in the GOAT conversation. Also, a part of this has to be storylines and great memories. Mm-hmm. And those are some of the things. We think of Jordan's shrug after hitting, I think, the 7 3-pointers against Portland in the first half of the finals. Those Portland. Iconic moments matter to people in this GOAT conversation. This would give LeBron 2 absolutely storybook NBA championships. I just mentioned the one with the 3-1 comeback over the 73-win team in Golden State. If he led LA to this title in the year that the tragedy of Kobe Bryant's death, the tragedy of a global pandemic, I mean, I think all of that would just play into what could arguably be one of the top most memorable NBA championships in history. LeBron would have 2 of them. So I think that would be huge for his legacy.
Would it be enough for you to switch camps? Would you go from a Jordan guy to a LeBron guy? Would it take more than just winning this year?
Yeah, it would take a little more.
Okay, just
I still wouldn't be ready to go there. Hey,
yesterday, Wild switched from Red Sox to Yankees like this with a high five, so I just didn't know how quickly you'd switch. All right, we got to take a break, you guys. Switching gears to the NFL, we finally know what what Tom Brady's given Chris Godwin for his number 12. I'm going to give you a hint. It's both invaluable and inexpensive. More first things first after this.
A healthy lifestyle should be easy, right? Eat veggies, drink green smoothies, exercise, get your heart rate up, and do yoga to bring your heart rate back down. Well, maybe not so easy, but there is something that helps improve everything, and you can literally do it with your eyes closed. It's sleep. Sleep Number knows what it takes to sleep your best. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed lets you choose your ideal firmness, comfort, and support on each side, your Sleep Number setting. It's the perfect solution for couples. These beds are so smart, they respond to your every move and automatically adjust to keep you sleeping comfortably all night. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, for a limited time during the Memorial Day sale, save $1,000 on the new Sleep Number Special Edition Smart Bed, a queen, now only $17.99. You'll only find Sleep Number at Sleep Number stores or by visiting www.sleepnumber.com.
Back here with Chris Broussard and Eric Mangini, we're drawing a blank. Starting with the Bucks, Chris Godwin gave Tom Brady his number 12 when Brady got to Tampa. We now know what Godwin got in return. He said Brady told him he'd get him a Super Bowl. It's nice in theory. Maybe a car is a placeholder. I don't know. That's just me. Broussard, TB12 promising a Super Bowl as payment for his number is blank.
You don't understand, Jenna. This was GOAT-ish. GOAT-ish. This is why Tom Brady is the GOAT. Because it's about the intangibles that he brings. And this right here is about changing his teammates' mindset, raising the bar, raising the standard, letting them know, look, making the Pro Bowl is not the goal. That's not enough. Getting to the playoffs is not enough. Even getting to the Super Bowl is not enough. Winning it is the absolute goal, and we will settle for nothing less. So somebody else can give you a car. Someone else can give you money for your number. I'm going to deliver you the memory of your career. So I think it's great. Nice. It's GOAT-ish.
Chris, it's so nice to see you. I'm just a little disappointed that Nick isn't here because this topic would make him so happy. First of all, it's on a site that's called The Checkdown. So he talked about the fact that that's all that Tom Brady could do. And now the idea that he's promising or guaranteeing Super Bowls, to me, I was going to say shocking, but it's hard to believe. And if it is the case, I was trying to think of like movie characters I could compare this new Tom Brady to. Is he Hank the Tank from Old School or Chevy Chase from Vacation? It's just not. It's not who Tom Brady is. It's not the approach that works. I read an article too yesterday that football's fun again. Look, Tampa's not going to fund their way to a championship. They need the approach that they've had, the consistent approach that Tom's had. That's what they need there, and I'm sure that's what Tom's bringing.
That is great. Football. Tampa is not going to fund their way to a championship. Print up the bumper stickers. I don't know, put it on all the New England trucks up here while we're in the snow. Don't fund your way to a championship. Speaking of movie characters, I went with Hollywood, but mine was Hollywood Brown because yesterday Hollywood Brown beat Chris Godwin in the Madden checkdown, which also is, as you had a good joke there, Mangini, that's all he could do. In an amazing play at the goal line fumble, he takes it back all the way. So Jenna, earlier this year, I was upset, and I was telling you I didn't like robots playing. I just feel like they're going to take over the world, and once the simulation, we're all living in a simulation. But now that we have real players playing and real human beings, I'm all for this. Big win by the Ravens. Also an example, sorry to keep going, Jenna. The first things first bounce.
No, go.
We had Hollywood Brown on. He's talking about this, another
true.
champion. So you want to win a championship, come on the show, guys.
For a guy that doesn't like simulation, you watch an awful lot of that Madden stuff. On to the latest now with Jamal Adams. So yesterday we learned that a lack of respect for head coach Adam Gase played a role in the all-pro safety requesting a trade. You know who probably hopes that all-pro safety stays with the Jets? That all-pro safety's defensive coordinator. Greg Williams says he loves coaching Jamal Adams and he's got his back. Broussard, Greg Williams' comments on Jamal Adams are blank.
They were self-preserving. He knows, look, if they don't, assuming they don't trade him, he's still got to coach this guy. And he wants him to anchor his defense. He wants to let all the players in the locker room know, I am with you guys. And this article that said that Adam Gase was a big reason Jamal Adams wanted to be traded, it was in the New York Daily News. It was scathing. It said that most people in the locker room, including coaches, front office executives, don't respect Gase, don't think he's fit to be a head coach. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what was reported. If that is indeed the case, Greg Williams may be thinking, hey, maybe I'll get another shot to take this team over. Let me let the players know I have their back. So it was self-preserving.
If that's the case where you think it might be an inside play to get the head job if Adam goes, that reinforces my take on it, which is self-serving. The nice thing about being a coordinator or position coach in a situation like this is you don't have to be the bad guy. And the negotiations can take place, and whether he gets a new contract or doesn't get a new contract, you're the one that has to get him to play at a high level, and you're the one that has to have a relationship with him. So it does not do anybody any good to get involved with something that they have no effect over. So what he does have an effect over is the calls that he makes, the relationship that he has, and by supporting the player, it's definitely a self-serving move.
Huh. So, Coach, I went with puzzling, which people usually have a negative connotation to it. But I actually, since I've been doing a lot of puzzles in quarantine, I haven't been doing them. My wife's doing them. Every once in a while, I throw a piece in. But when I get a piece, it fits perfectly. It goes from a mess to like, all right, now this is the start of something. And it feels like this Jamal Adams situation is just a big mess. And Greg Williams took his little puzzle piece and be like, all right, let's just start to try to fix it and try to get to a nice spot here. And he put one puzzle piece in and said, like, does everybody feel better? Jamal, you can stop saying goodbye to your teammates on Instagram. We might have you. And let's sort of like put this back together. So I went puzzling, Jenna, but in a good way.
I love you, Wilds. Your glass is always half full. On to the Browns. Odell Beckham Jr. is coming off a down year by his standards, just over 1,000 yards while dealing with injuries, a tough season from his quarterback, a lot of media scrutiny for that team. But OBJ's healthy now. His rehab from that core muscle surgery seems to be going well. And his head coach, Kevin Stefanski, says he's, quote, free and clear to work without any restrictions. So, Broussard, let's spin this forward. The chances Odell has a breakout season with the Browns this season are blank.
They're in Baker's hands. In Baker's hands. Because, look, we know if Odell is healthy, we know what type of ability he has. He's one of the top receivers in the league. He's got a great complement on the other side of the field in Jarvis Landry. He's got great running backs in Nick Chubb and now Kareem Hunt. He's got an offensive-minded coach who knows how to use receivers. We saw that in Minnesota with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, Kevin Stefanski I'm talking about. And so everything is there. All the pieces are there. The question is just, can the quarterback get him the football consistently? It's in Baker's hands.
I see it differently. I see it as being 100% in Odell's hands, 100% in his control. And he said it last year. He said that nothing is going to stop him, that the reporters could write it down. 2020 is going to be his year. They just said he's 100% healthy, so you don't have that impediment or excuse, however you want to look at it. He's been there for a year, so he's much more comfortable with the environment. Now it's a function of going out and playing to your potential. And if you're one of the greatest players in the NFL at your position, you are going to find a way to be successful. And he's not on a team that's devoid of talent. There's a lot of other players that defenses are going to have to stop to where he's not going to constantly be double teamed. So you won't have that excuse either.
Well, that was actually kind of motivational, Coach. I started to get fired up. You're like, great players. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I wrote big three. I've like health, good. Baker will be good. And Stefanski will be good. With the Vikings, the 8th best scoring offense in the league. So I feel like those big three reasons, Odell will be great.
All right, we shall see. On to my guy, Teddy Bridgewater now. Head coach Matt Rule was asked about the narrative that Teddy doesn't have enough arm strength to succeed. Rule says, au contraire, mon frère, Bridgewater is exactly what the Panthers need, and added that he's got a great arm. So, Broussard, in addition to me speaking French, Bridgewater's ceiling in his first season in Carolina is blank.
It's based on Father Time. And here's why I say that. Look, I really like Teddy Bridgewater. I agree with Matt Rule that he's got the physical ability. We know he's got the intangibles. He's a winner. He's 22-12 as a starter. Was obviously 5-0 last year with New Orleans. And he's got some talent around him, starting with Christian McCaffrey, who not only runs the ball but catches it out of the backfield. Decent, group of receivers as well. And Joe Brady, who was terrific, obviously, as an OC at LSU, working with him in Carolina. That said, if Father Time doesn't catch up to Tom Brady, I think Tampa Bay is going to be very good. And if he doesn't catch up Father Time to Drew Brees, New Orleans not going anywhere. I'm not even mentioning Matt Ryan in Atlanta. That division is so tough that even if Bridgewater is really good, they may not be able to beat Tampa and New Orleans.
I really liked what Teddy did last year, and I would have said the ceiling is high, but I think it's going to be limited by his environment. When he was in New Orleans, he had a mature offense. He had a mature offensive coordinator. He had a mature head coach. He had been there for 2 years. Now he goes to Carolina, and he's got a first-time head coach. He's got a really young offensive coordinator who spent 2 years in pro football as an offensive assistant, and really 1 year calling plays in college football. So you've got that to overcome. And now you've got a new environment and no off-season program. So you're going to go in there. Everybody's going to be feeling their way through the changes and adjustments that have to be made because of what we're dealing with. And then you've got all the inexperience that goes with it that I think is going to limit his ceiling at least this year.
So I thought this was a curious compliment. Like, he's got a great arm. It's like, like I'm an NFL quarterback. Of course I do. And I talked to our researcher, Dusty, who's usually, a very optimistic guy like me. He had a huge thing of coffee this morning that he was showing off on the Zoom call. And he said, well, Wilds, 42 players threw 100 passes last year, and nobody averaged fewer air yards per throw than Teddy's 6.2. I was like, Dusty, that's play calling. That's not his fault. Like, let him air it out a little bit. Like, the guys at winning went 5-0 last year. The Panthers have a chance here. And then he goes, nope, not true. According to Fox Bet, Panthers are plus 300,000 to go 16-0.
Hey.
So if you really believe in Teddy, you got a chance to win $300,000 there if you're willing to lay a little money on the line at Fox Bet.
I'm willing to do that. He's still my guy. As we keep tabs on various workouts from guys in the NFL, Melvin Ingram. I got to respect anyone that works out with a medicine ball. The Pro Bowl defensive end putting in the work. 2 14-pound medicine balls. Abs on abs on abs, my friends. Broussard, Melvin Ingram's medicine ball workout is blank. I would have done 5 more. Just kidding.
Jenna-esque. Jenna-esque.
Oh.
I have the utmost respect for Jenna and her workout. She sends them to me. She sends me her workouts just to make me feel like a lazy thug. Look at that. I mean, Melvin Gordon was nice, but he's no Jenna Wolfe. So, Jenna-esque. He's trying.
Love you, Broussard. Bless you and love you.
I really enjoyed the end here, Jenna, where you finish with that emphasis and that anger and that there it is, right there, that intensity. To me, the
same way I end the show.
Because, oh my God, because he makes it look so easy that you think, oh, I'm gonna go try that. I'm gonna go put that together down in the basement. But that's not easy to do. That's really hard to do. Just like what Jenna is doing is really hard to do.
So I went with blocked by Burrow. The Chargers play the Bengals at first, and I give this a little Joe Burrow advice. You got to block this on Instagram. This is not something you want to see. He had 7 sacks last year, and he's coming after you, and then he's coming after Patrick Mahomes in week 2. So I would say, Joe Burrow, go on your Instagram, block Melvin Ingram so you don't have to see any of these workouts give you nightmares for week 1.
Little psychological warfare. All right, and Broussard, once again, thank you. Switching gears to the NBA now, where Giannis is getting in on the latest viral trend. So it's called Don't Leave Me. And for those of you not up on this, looking at you, Jenna, Here's how it works. First, you make the worst pun imaginable. Then your friends go crazy. That's literally it. Case in point, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Take a listen.
Oh, you got something to tell me?
Me?
Yeah, or.
Okay. What is this Disney show? With this blondie. He said, I got the best of both worlds. What was the name?
Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana.
Word.
You take Hannah Montana, you put her in France. What you have?
What do you have?
French Montana.
Don't leave me. Take me with you. Don't leave me. Hey, bro, you got something?
A healthy lifestyle should be easy, right? Eat veggies, drink green smoothies, exercise, get your heart rate up, and do yoga to bring your heart rate back down. Well, maybe not so easy, but there is something that helps improve everything, and you can literally do it with your eyes closed. It's sleep. Sleep Number knows what it takes to sleep your best. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed lets you choose your ideal firmness, comfort, and support on each side, your Sleep Number setting. It's the perfect solution for couples. These beds are so smart, they respond to your every move and automatically adjust to keep you sleeping comfortably all night. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, for a limited time during the Memorial Day sale, save $1,000 on the new Sleep Number Special Edition Smart Bed, a queen, now only $17.99. You'll only find Sleep Number at Sleep Number stores or by visiting www.sleepnumber.com.
Back here, we're talking some Colin Kaepernick. According to reports, the quarterback is drawing legitimate interest from a number of NFL teams. Our friends at Fox Bet have the Ravens as the favorites to sign Cap at plus 200, followed by the Seahawks at plus 250. Coach, let me start with you. Which team would be the best fit for Colin Kaepernick?
It's absolutely the Baltimore Ravens. It's not even a close second with anybody else. Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator in San Francisco when Cap was there. My first 2 years in San Francisco, I was on the offensive side of the ball, and I was in the quarterback meeting room every single day with Cap and Greg and Jeep Christ and understanding Cap's approach, understanding this system, understanding Cap's style of play. It's a perfect fit for him to be in Baltimore because there are similarities between him and the young quarterback that they have and where he is in his development. It's such a better fit than RG3 is at this point if they could make it work.
Wow. So I'm fascinated by that, Coach. It's almost like you think that's going to happen because I've thought, Broussard, that this conversation has just been getting better and better and more optimistic, and we've turned from a if this is going to happen to a when this is going to happen. And it's just a quick timeline. June 11th, Pete Carroll said he regretted signing Cap and that he received a phone call from another team regarding Cap. A few days later, Goodell said that he'd welcome support and encourage a team bringing Cap back. June 17th, Anthony Lynn said be crazy not to have Cap on your workout list. Yesterday, Michael Silver said there's other teams are interested. Now, the question when we talk about when is why isn't this happening? And obviously, safety is paramount, and there's all sorts of restrictions on who you can bring into the building and who you can work out. We did see Gronk get signed and didn't necessarily go through a workout, so that's a little bit of a gray area. But July 28th is when training camps open up, so I hope that this momentum will continue to grow, and we'll see Cap on a team pretty soon, Broussard.
Yeah, I hope so as well. And I disagree with Coach. I mean, obviously, Baltimore has its advantages for why Kaepernick would fit there, Greg Roman being number one. But I like him in Seattle. You obviously have a quarterback who is entrenched as your starter in Russell Wilson. So there would be no quarterback controversy. If Russell has a few bad games or if they lose a few games, no one's going to be clamoring for, hey, put in Kaepernick, see what he can do. You also have a quarterback who is mature enough to handle Kaepernick, his backup, getting a lot of attention. For the first few weeks, there would be a lot of attention on Kaepernick. He'd be getting a lot of questions, you know, things if there's another unfortunate incident with the police and a black person, Kaepernick would be, the guy everybody's going to question. Wilson could handle that. Also, Pete Carroll really likes Kaepernick, clearly, and he said on record that if Russell somehow got hurt and wasn't available, Kaepernick would be the perfect backup and replacement for him. Then Geno Smith, the backup right now, only has a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. Only less than 140 grand is guaranteed. So you could get rid of him easily and put Kaepernick in there. And I know Cap's been out for 3 years, but you can still make an argument that he can play as well as Geno Smith, if not better. And then finally, we saw how Seattle reacted to the Black Lives Matter movement. Heck, they took over part of the city. And so you assume that fan base would really embrace Kaepernick if they signed him. So I think Seattle's the fit.
But
the maturity
Chris,
issues are really... Go ahead, Coach.
What I was going to say is that when you look at his role as a backup, he's not going to be able to help Russell Wilson the same way he's going to be able to help Lamar Jackson. He's gone through what Lamar's gone through. He's worked with Greg as a young quarterback, and then moving into his second year, he was dynamic initially. He struggled some in the playoffs. He's gone through this. He knows the system. Stylistically, there's similarities, and he could support a young quarterback so much better than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, there's going to be elements where he can help him, but what Lamar Jackson, it's firsthand knowledge of going through what he's experiencing now.
But Coach, let me ask you this: Go ahead,
I was just going to say, he would certainly be more of a help to Lamar. He couldn't help Russell. But I agree, that's a lot of what you want from your backup quarterback. But I still think for the other reasons, he's a great fit in Seattle.
Okay, I'm going to say something now. Okay, here I go. Those other reasons, the other reasons is what I want to ask you about, Coach. It can't just be Colin's being brought in because he would give good advice to the starting quarterback, regardless of how mature or not he is. You were on that Niners coaching staff the last time Cap was there. If you're a team right now looking at bringing in Colin Kaepernick, what's the most important factor? What's the one thing you want to see he's able to do or able to handle or able to fit in? What's that most important thing for you to say, okay, I'm going to give the green light to bring him in?
Well, Jenna, it's going to be tough right now to justify bringing in Colin over Cam Newton. How do you do that? How do you, just looking at it globally, how do you not bring in Cam Newton first and see what he can do before you bring in Colin, who you've had an opportunity to bring in for the last 3 years? That being said, if you do decide that you want to see where Colin is, you're going to have to be able to spend some time with him. You're going to want to be able to get to know him, to get to know where his mindset is, where he is from a football perspective, and then you're going to want to have a chance to work him out as well. And nobody's been able to do that. And I guess they're going to transition back to that once training camp starts and they figure out the mechanics. But those would be the first issues you'd want to approach.
So, Coach, I've got a question for you about the specific workouts, and you've talked about getting to know him, and also earlier in the segment we showed his workout that he set up and the NFL set up and at 2 locations, and to me that video looks good. But there's nobody on the field, obviously, and like when I look at Cam's video look good, but I'm looking at it with an untrained eye of a fan. What specifically will the workout look like, and what will coaches be looking for? Is it ball velocity? Is it reading the field? Like, what are you actually looking for in those workouts?
That's such a interesting question, because I've been to a ton of different quarterback workouts run by different, whether it's gurus or coaches, and they all have different things that they like to see. Some of it is footwork, some of it is throwing mechanics, some of it is arm strength, some of it is accuracy. You're trying to check a lot of different boxes. And where is he from an overall physical standpoint? Cap was always incredibly strong, and where has he been from a workout perspective versus where he was in the past? So there's several boxes you're going to have to check with a physical workout.
Coach, I think you made a good point earlier about Cam Newton. And I think, obviously, Cam seems to be waiting until someone's injured during the regular season. And if a team is looking for a guy to replace their starter, I think it's clearly got to be Cam Newton. You would definitely take him over Colin Kaepernick. But I think for teams looking for backups, we know Cam doesn't want to be a backup. Teams looking for backups, I think that's why they might go after Colin before Cam, because he'll, at this point, more readily accept that backup role.
All right, gentlemen, time for stories to start your morning. Starting with Vince Carter calling it a career. The 8-time All-Star confirming with this quote, officially done. Vince, arguably one of the most entertaining players ever to take the court. Antoine, does Vince get enough credit for being a great player, or do people forget because he was such a great dunker?
I think people obviously look at the dunking and see how explosive he was dunking the basketball, but he's in my top 10 of top 2 guards ever to play the game. His first 7-8 years were incredible, especially in Toronto. An 8-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player. So I think he doesn't get the credit to be, when you think about the elite 2 guards in the league, when you think about Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, and obviously Allen Iverson and Jordan and Kobe, Vince Carter's name doesn't come up a lot, but he's in my top 10. Just an unbelievable career. His numbers are a little off because he played, obviously he played as long as he did. So the last 4 or 5 years, he didn't average double figures, but what a terrific career.
I agree, Antoine. 8-time All-Star, had a huge effect on Canadian basketball, not just with the Raptors, but also just the infrastructure of Canadian basketball and the momentum that you saw. A lot of guys then are able to go from Canada into the NBA. They call it the Carter effect. So he gets a lot of credit for it, but it's part of his legacy that is not discussed as much about his dunks. So that's a serious part. And now I have a ridiculous thing for you, Broussard. As we were talking about who's still available in the free agent market, our researcher, Dusty, texted me, hey, can Vince Carter now come out of retirement officially and go down to Orlando to join a team? Throwing it out there. I'm sure there's some bylaw that's not allowed, but it would be tremendous. We just add a little addendum to the rules, Broussard.
That is really interesting. He can still hit a 3. We know that. So
there we go. It's picking up steam.
To answer Jenna's question, I think there's a few reasons that he doesn't, we forget about how great he was. I think one is that for the last decade, he was a mediocre role player. I mean, really, so there's a whole generation of fans who've been watching basketball the last 10 years and have seen Vince Carter just be a guy off the bench or a rotation player. As Antoine said, the last 6 years of his career, he was a single-digit scorer. So that skews kind of the view that we have of Vince. Secondly, he really doesn't have that signature win. He only made it past the second round of the playoffs once, and they went out in the Eastern Conference Finals. So you don't have those great playoff series where he prevailed to make us think of his actual play. And then thirdly, he was not only a great dunker, he is the greatest game dunker in the history of the NBA. And as sad as it is, because it'll overlook or overwhelm some of his actual ability as a player, I think his greatest legacy will be that he was the best dunker in NBA history.
Wow.
Ooh.
All right, let's move on to J.R. Swish. With Avery Bradley opting out of the NBA restart, J.R. Smith has become the hot name to replace him on the Lakers, and he seems to be taking that rumor seriously, posting his video as proof he's putting the work in. Antoine, should J.R. to the Lakers be a lock at this point?
I think so. Obviously, losing Avery Bradley is going to hurt the Lakers. You're going to lose a lot defensively with everybody, but I think to add J.R. Smith would be great. Great three-point shooter in his career, 37%. He's made over 1,900 threes. So he's a guy you can rely on. He's played in a bunch of meaningful games with LeBron, knows how to play with LeBron, and, he'll be able to space the floor for him and AD. So I think it'll be a great pickup. Obviously, J.R. Smith is not the defensive player that Avery Bradley is, But I think just him having him on the floor, being able to space the floor, and a guy who's willing and able to make a big three-point shot.
So I've got two things that are fascinating about this video, Broussard. The first one is it seems like this little one-footed step back was like the thing that Harden was working on, and he did it early in the season and then kind of abandoned it. So, JR, if this move is coming back, I want to see it. The second move is great Orlando Magic throwback shorts. I don't know if that's like subliminal, like, hey, I'm ready for Orlando, or if it's just like a straight call out to the Magic. But those are the two things I loved about the video, Broussard.
Yeah, look, I think JR makes sense for the Lakers. I'm not expecting too much, but he is only 34 years old. As Antoine said, he's played with LeBron. It takes some time to adjust to playing with LeBron, but JR already knows how to do it. He'll be able to space the floor, know where he needs to get to on the court, where LeBron will be able to pass him the ball and things like that. So it makes some sense, and I do think JR is capable. He's a streaky shooter, capable of coming in there and hitting a big three here or there in the playoffs.
All right, on to the NFL, where Saquon Barkley is back at it. Saquon posting this to the gram yesterday, admitting he was limited by his ankle injury last season. He's clearly limited no more, as I can tell from my little Instagram feed on my phone and from my lack of a medical background. Antoine, you expecting a bounce-back season from the Giants running back?
Oh, without question. He's one of the career running backs in the game. Look for him to have a huge, huge season. They got new energy up there in New York. So, it's always a little biased for me. I'm a diehard Bears fan, so it's always tough for me to watch some of these other teams. But he's a great talent. He'll be back this year.
Jenna, you know how yesterday I said I was a Red Sox and a Yankees fan? I'm also a Patriots and a Giants fan. Underneath the same concept of you live in New York long enough, you start rooting for the Giants. It's just true. I'm just being honest with everyone. Look, our friend Nick Wright has the Giants at like 2-14, which is insane. They're going to have a great year, bounce-back year for Saquon. And old Danny Dimes gained 10 pounds of workout. We haven't seen his workout video, but Danny Dimes put on a little 10 pounds too. So I feel good about the Giants this year, Broussard.
Yeah, I do expect a bounce-back year from Saquon. Look, his last 3 games, he averaged 131 yards on over 6 yards per carry. So he is back. And then he'll have Danny Dimes, as you said, Wild, throwing the football. I think he'll show improvement. So that'll open up the running game when you got Dimes to worry about as far as a passer. So I do expect Saquon to have a great year. We'll see how many wins it translates to, but individually, he will be dynamic.
In Danny Dimes, you both trust. All right, moving on. Chris Godwin is ready to roll. Has there been a player who hasn't put out a workout video yet? The former owner of number 12 down there in Tampa, literally rolling. His latest workout drill will really come in handy if he ever trips and needs to roll a few extra yards to make the catch. Antoine, you like this exercise, or is it a waste of time because Brady would never be off by a few yards on a throw?
Oh, jeez.
No, I don't know about that,
Sorry.
Jenna. Brady's a little old now. He's a little old now, so you may have to go get a couple passes from him. No, I think this is great. I mean, obviously it shows concentration. I love seeing workouts like this when you see other professional athletes add different things to their game, and it kind of shows you the separation from the good receivers against some of the bad receivers. But to put this kind of drill in is great. I think a lot of receivers are going to start doing this, especially young receivers.
So, Broussard, I'm confused by all of this, to be honest with you. There feels like there's an element of the trainers being like, what can we put on Instagram that I'm the most creative trainer, I'm doing the weirdest stuff, I'm the most esoteric training method. And I just feel like there's eventually the pendulum will swing back. And it's like, I don't know, just like, let's do something more conventional. I don't know, maybe it's not a great take.
I think it's the Jenna Wolfe element. You know, they're seeing her work out and saying, what can we come up with? Look, this is incredible. I mean, for him to do that is unbelievable. Now, I would be more impressed if he didn't have the gloves on. Those gloves, we know those gloves.
The gloves
you can catch anything with those gloves. I'd be more impressed if it was barehanded. But I'm sure Tom Brady loves this because he's thinking about, I was throwing to Philip Dorsett and Jacoby Myers last year. Now I got
this. That's what I'm throwing to.
That's like now.
And
Brady
I'm
doesn't
glad
have to
they
be
showed some
accurate when
necessary-
you practice roles like this. On to a race for the ages. Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill recently challenged the entire world to a race, to which Adam Thielen replied, "I'm ready." Twan, it's probably tongue-in-cheek, but what in the heck is Adam Thielen thinking?
I don't know what he's thinking. He probably had a better chance just racing me, probably, or you, Jenna, than racing Tyreek Hill. So I don't know what he's thinking right there. I mean, Tyreek Hill is one of the freak athletes in the NFL. I can't, I'm slow, Jenna. I can't even imagine running a 4.2, 4.3. Them numbers don't even add up with me. So leave Tyreek Hill alone. I'm telling you, leave him alone. He's one of the fastest guys in the NFL.
Well, I think Tyreek Hill made a terrible decision. I think he made a terrible decision here. If you're known as the fastest person in the NFL, then why risk it at all? Why put the challenge out there at all? You can only go down. It's like when you're Joe Burrow, he's like, I'm not throwing at the combine, I'm Joe Burrow. I don't need to throw. I can only hurt my value. So I think this is foolish. Everyone should challenge it. Get the title.
I think this was smart of Adam Thielen because one, look, it makes it look like your swagger's on 100. Like you're confident. You're not afraid of anybody. You'll take on all comers. And there's never going to be a chance for you and Tyreek to race. So it's never going to happen. But you can always say, hey, I was ready. I was willing. It just never happened.
What was that Seinfeld line? Jerry Seinfeld said, "I will not race." Back to the NBA, where players are dressing for success. According to a report, the league is loosening the dress code in Orlando. Players won't be required to wear a sport coat on the bench, and they can wear polos for basically all team business. Antoine, that being said, whose outfits are you most looking forward to?
You got to start with Westbrook. Westbrooks and obviously James Harden. Those two guys you got to look for. This is going to be some of the worst outfits ever in Orlando. We're going to see pajamas. We're going to see house shoes, flip-flops. We're going to see old T-shirts. We're going to see some things you've never seen before. In the bubble, they're not going to have their family for the first month. Bad outfits,
I agree.
That's interesting. The no stylist is interesting for starters. I still like LeBron's Tom Brown suit and shorts.
That's what
Wait, should we check out Antoine real quick while you go, Broussard?
It'll be interesting to see if LeBron brings that back. I like that suit, Twan.
Hey, I got it right, too.
We got to go. Yeah. Chris Broussard, Antoine Walker, thank you so much. We're off next week. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great weekend.